I think about a couple of decades ago, if you're leading a channel or managing a channel, it was more like your role was reporting back. Of course, you had organizations supporting the partners and training the partners and etc. But it was very, very sort of a rear view approach. You reported back how things did last quarter. So you're kind of
Yes.
reporting back what rest of the organization did. And now you're driving the revenue through in a lot more opportunistic way, in a lot more options are at hand, but it's a lot more complex and you have to be forward looking because you have to make bets. Why is this cross functionality is a lot more important today than it was maybe a decade or two ago?
Yeah, I think the 20 years ago, as an example, it was a bit easier because if you had a swim lane where it was very large as a part of your business, for example, like Cisco and VMware are commonly known for routing, call it 80 to 90% of their business through the channel, then by nature, you get cross-functional alignment because so much of your business is going through partners. And so it becomes heavily resourced. And so alignment is organically going to happen that way. What happens is when you don't have that and you have these nuanced swim lanes and smaller percentages going through partners comparatively, you then have to make sure that you are in lockstep and have an operating cadence with these cross-functional teams and really understanding what their goals are and their strategy in getting there. And also making sure you're articulating what your partner strategy is and what your goals are and how your partner strategy is going to help them and their team get to their outcomes. And then understand how you work together on the right initiatives that you're aligned on, where people are in agreement. These are the DRIs we're going to sign. These are the outcomes we agree we're going to go drive and track on this operating cadence. And then we're going to check in, whether it's weekly, monthly, or quarterly, on how we're doing on these initiatives, how we're tracking towards the outcomes. And we get to all hold each other accountable in terms of the resourcing and the progress and effort we're putting to getting to the finish line. That is one of the hardest muscles for partnerships people to build currently, because what can happen a lot of times in these fast growth companies is they operate in a silo and they get comfortable in running that business in a silo. But what would really amplify their impact is going to product, marketing, services, CS, sales, finance, ops, and being proactive in building those better together relationships as one team and starting to figure out what are the key things and initiatives they're working on where partners can augment and supercharge what they're doing together and ultimately get us to faster, better outcomes from a customer perspective, but also from a company perspective. And let me be very specific as an example. For example, if your company is struggling to get case studies, which you can then put into webinars, which then can lead to top of funnel, which then leads to pipeline and then revenue,